Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about Age of Empires 2 on Xbox, and a review from someone who is a big RTS player on console, as well as someone who's a big Age of Empires fan in general. If this is your first time on the channel, I have been in love with Halo Wars. Actually, Halo Wars 1 was developed by Age of Empires 2 developers Ensemble Studios back in the day. So I'm both passionate about Halo Wars and Age of Empires, and it just seems like a dream come true that Age of Empires 2 is on Xbox. This video I'm going to be talking about my review of the controller, how the controller interface works on this historic PC game, as well as other features that this game offers and why that makes it so awesome, as well as interest for you if you're a single-player gamer, and what to look forward to after this release. So I'll spoil this video in just a couple of words. Should you buy or should you play Age of Empires 2 on Xbox? I think overwhelmingly yes, you should, but this video, of course, is going to go into why that is. Let's start with the controller, because I feel like that's going to be what is really going to allow either gamers to approach this game and try it out, or turn people away from this game due to how they feel how Age of Empires 2 works on the controller. Since it's a traditional real-time strategy game, it isn't simplified in any way in terms of its gameplay mechanics when it made its move from PC to console. Instead, the developers made shortcuts and presets on the controller that have made the game much more accessible for picking this up on a gamepad for the first time. So firstly, let's talk about villager presets. In Age of Empires 2, you have two different unit types: economy units and military units. Economy units include your villagers, which gather your resources and build your buildings, and do other sorts of things like build defenses like towers and walls. So your villagers are critically important to your success, because without villagers, you won't have the economy to build military units. Thankfully, it could get a little overwhelming, I would say, managing all of your villagers. So thankfully, there is a villager preset menu system with the controller. You just click in the right stick, and you can select a preset that fits your needs. Your villagers will automatically do tasks relative to those needs. So there's ones where you get your basic wood and food to get to the second age. Different sorts of presets to do some sort of early rush when you hit feudal age. It's really, really helpful, and I think it does its job pretty well. My only real complaint is sometimes the villager presets can interrupt manual tasks that you set for your villagers. For example, I'll have villagers build houses to increase my population so I can continue to build units. And sometimes even during construction, I'll watch a villager stop constructing the house and go off and chop some trees or something, which is completely unnecessary. The villager should have finished its task building the house, and they go in to chop trees. This is, of course, the initial release of this game, so I'm not too concerned about this. You can, of course, turn these off at any time during the game and take control of these villagers yourself if you think that a more manual approach is better, or I think the developers will enhance this as time goes on. The game has a much more friendly interface on console than what you're used to on PC. Things are really enlarged. It tells you much more clearly, I feel like, how to access your units and see what your resource count is, what your population at, all those sorts of things. I do like the interface, overall the UI for Age 2 on console. They also, with the controller, have made it really easy to find and select units, with the directional buttons that navigates you to different buildings like your town center or idle villagers or even your military, and by pressing and holding these buttons you can even get more controls. There's also a find menu button like interface thing by using the left bumper, so if you want to like select all of your naval units, for example, you can do that as well. If you think that you would need unit control groups, which is really important on PC, thankfully the console version does allow this. You just have to go in your settings and change the interface that you're using from standard to advanced. And I have a video, I'll post a link in the description and a card on the video for you to see how to do that. And from there, you can easily make unit control groups to either units or buildings, so you can control those on the fly wherever you are. I also find that the customizability of this is really intuitive. So you can customize almost anything you want in this game with your controls, with your interface. There's even graphical customization settings, which is rare to see on a console game. Really, really impressive, I think, not only for an RTS game, but just for a console game in general. Moving on to regular features that this game has that I think is really impressive, especially for an RTS game, is how many crossplay and cross-input options that it has. You can easily turn on crossplay from the settings menu in Age of Empires 2 on Xbox, and that will allow you to play with people on PC. It's really simple to do, and as soon as you turn that on, any invitations you get to join parties in Age 2 will work, and you can join your PC friends. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. I also think it's really cool that the game has cross-input support. What I mean by this is you can plug in a mouse and keyboard and control it just like you would on PC, except you're using that Xbox interface. And I really like this, actually. It has the same changeable hotkeys and shortcuts, everything you're used to if you're playing on PC. You're really used to playing on mouse and keyboard. You can just plug that into your Xbox and it will just automatically start working. It's really cool. I think what's even more interesting is for multiplayer, you can turn on cross-input matchmaking, meaning, let's say, for example, you only want to play other Xbox players. You can actually play against them with a mouse and keyboard if you toggle that option on when you're searching. I think that's really cool, and I don't really think that was necessary for the developers to implement, but yet it's here. And what I mean by this is, like, they could have forced you and said, the second you plug in a mouse and keyboard, you're going to be able to play console and PC players. But I think for this learning curve, allowing you to just be restricted to Xbox if you want to is really neat. If multiplayer or PvP isn't really your style, I think you're also going to be pretty impressed with the amount of single-player content that's available here. I mean, there are tons of civilizations. I counted over 40 civilizations here for you to try out in Age of Empires 2, and a lot of expansion packs have been added over the years, including stuff you got from the base game and the Conquerors expansion from way back in the day from the original developers, Ensemble Studios, and the list just kind of goes on and on about the new content that's been added to this since Forgotten Empires and World's Edge have taken over the IP. I would say you easily have over 100 hours of single-player content, and there's, of course, endless content online. Due to crossplay, you'll always find matches if you have it turned on. I know that this is a pretty popular release thanks to it being on PC, Steam, and now console. It's one of the most popular RTS games in the world, and that's why it's still getting support in new DLC 20 years later after its release. And yes, there is upcoming DLC for this game, believe it or not. If you want to try this out, well, I think the barrier to entry is really low. You can simply just get Game Pass and try this out for no cost with your Game Pass subscription. But I do think its retail price is really cheap at $20. This is a cross-generation game, which I don't think Xbox has done a good job of marketing that. They seem to have really focused on not being only supported for Series S and X, but it actually does work on Xbox One. So if you haven't upgraded to the new generation of consoles yet, you can certainly try those out on that. And I'm pleased to report it runs great on those as well. If this game is a little bit too old, I guess, quote-unquote, I mean, this is a 20-year-old game that we're playing here. If you think it's too old or, a little bit too hard for you to try out and learn the ropes and understand this game, well, luckily, Age of Empires 4 is coming to Xbox later this year. That's going to probably be getting the same treatment that we saw for Age 2 with all of its additional features and support. In Age of Mythology, the spin-off from the early to mid 2000s, that's going to be getting a remake. It's called Age of Mythology Retold. That's coming out soon. There's no release date for that, but I do think if there is a positive reception to both the PC release of Mythology as well as the console release of Age 2 and Age 4, we probably will see Mythology also hit Xbox at some point in the future as well. So there's plenty of Age of Empires coming out here in the next few years. Again, if you're new to the channel, TeamRespawn, we are in love with RTS games, especially console RTS games. So if you like Age of Empires, you'll probably like Halo Wars, and vice versa. If you like Halo Wars, you'll probably like Age of Empires. There's a ton of both of that content on the channel, and we are probably posting Age of Empires 4 more than anyone else. Finally, if you need advice, strategies, tips on how to pick up Age of Empires 2 for the very first time, I've made a handful of guide videos already for Age of Empires 2 specifically for Xbox, and I'm going to continue to make content for that as time goes on. But if you need more one-on-one advice, feel free to join our Discord, where there's plenty of Age of Empires players ready to give you tips on how to pick up the game. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think Age of Empires 2 on Xbox is really good? I think it's phenomenal, but I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.